and the second 30 minutes maybe can be a kind of workshop. So things related to green perspective and the environment and different things like that. So yeah, we can do it such a way. So it means that the first 30 minutes can be a kind of presentation also, but I would like it to be a kind of interactive presentation. So everyone, if you have any question, you can just ask me. In terms of discussion and interaction, it will be better. Okay. So, yes. To begin with the presentation of our structure, because we have a magazine called Mediasphere, and I deem that it is necessary to associate the logo of our structure to this poster and presentation also, because in the future I have already discussed with Rajiv. In the future, we would like to have a kind of partnership and collaboration with Umran Green Perspective, because of course of this concept of green perspective, because we are working for the green energy, green economy, and environment and different issues related to the nature, right? So in the future, hopefully we will have a kind of a partnership with Umran. So this said, as I said, you see the topic of this presentation, hypermedia and communication in the millennium. And I would like to mention that this title actually is a very few part of my book published in 2020 last year, actually. So the title of the book is Autopsy of Postmodern Communication, a Shift of Paradigm for Homo Digitalis. And yes, I will not tell you to buy the book. It's not an advertisement, but I would love actually to give each one of you, the members of Umra, every one a copy at least of the book, but I don't have enough copy, unfortunately. But it's available online for those who are curious and would like to read it. So there are 4 different sections in the book, and yes, as you can see here. And this presentation is a very, very, very short, summary of the first section and the third section. So I tried to make it very succinct and short for you, so that the discussion also will be much more fruitful and interesting. So, well, talking about media and information also today in this 21st century, it's important to say that in every society, as you already know, in every country, every society, every democratic society, because it's important to precise the concept of democracy. So in every democratic society, we have these 4 different structure of power, which are the judiciary, which concern much more actually the justice system of the country, and the executive power, which concern the political issues and the government, and also the legislature is much more the parliament and the deputy and different things related, yes, also to politics. And the last power, the last type of power, which in media, this was developed in 1997 by a British researcher, Mark Wheeler. So he said that media actually should constitute the 4th level of this democratic society in order to maintain a kind of equilibrium between these entities. It is important also. That's why media also coming at the 4th level also brings about the new power and a new predominance here to dominate the other types of media. And here, why the media is so important, because it's influenced both the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Both the social and the politics also are much more concerned when it comes to discussing the advent of media. That's why in 2002, discussing this concept of 4th power of state, Thomas, his name is Thomas Mayer in 2002, he said that media has come to colonize democracy, because here, when you talk about actually the power in the state, the first thing that we see is media, because it encompasses every dimension of the society. So this said, it's important also to talk about the division of power in the society. And here, as I said, I would like this discussion not to be like unidirectional, but to be much more interactive. So I will be asking you some questions actually regarding something. First question, maybe I would like to ask you, for example, we give you 3 different countries in the world, and you will tell me what comes to your mind first. What do you think about this country? Actually, one word about these countries. maybe if I say, for example, North Korea or Japan, or for example, the US, yes, what do you think when we say, for example, the name of North Korea, what comes to your mind first? And or Japan, for example. So anyone can take the floor and say something. Or yes, there is no true or false answer actually. So it's just tell what you think when you hear these names. If you want, you can type also. Yes, I'm waiting, guys. Yes, please give your opinions. Actually, it's a kind of discussion, and I want it to be much more interactive. So please say something. For example, North Korea. What do you think when someone says North Korea? What comes to your mind first? What do you think first?
Their dictator, Kim Jong-un.
Dictator. This is an important concept. Dictatorship. Okay. And what else? I think that there are some discussion. So Kim Jong-un, yes, Kim Jong-un comes to your mind. And yes, Rizwan, Kim Jong-un, and someone has Japan technology. This is a very important concept also. Yes, Congress, North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Yes, actually, yes, of course, technology. When it comes to Japan, this is a very important thing. And how about US, the United States of America? Yes. And yes, please, you can speak if you want. Okay. The USA, freedom. Wow, freedom. Yes. Okay, freedom. Why not freedom? This is very interesting. Actually, fries. Also, you're much more concerned about culture. Actually, when talk about fries, this is also a very important concept. And also, Kim Jong-un, Rizwan. What do you think about him? Do you hear me? You can speak, guys, please. Yes. Because I think Rizwan said Kim Jong-un, right? The president of North Korea. What is the concept? Is it much more? Because some people also, yeah, in different events, they said like nuclear weapons and different things like that. But all what you said, okay, US Hollywood. Oh, this is very important also. Aliza Khan, yes, Hollywood. Why not Hollywood? This is very important concept also. So all what you said actually are very important, and these are can be qualified, be it technology, be it for example, some are talking about dictatorship, or maybe I think I have another chat also. Let me check it. Japan cartoons. Okay, cartoon, right? So if you say cartoons or technology, yes, we can categorize them actually in the three different branches of strategic powers, because these things can be qualified as power. Because, for example, if you say cartoon or Hollywood in the United States of America, this can be categorized as what? Entertainment and cultural, influence of the world, for example. And this is very important also. And this is what an American researcher, his name is Joseph Nye, he developed in 1990, what he called the soft power. So the soft power diplomacy is all about the domination of the world through the cultural, influence, and also for example, this entertainment and movies and different things that you have talked about. And of course, also someone was talking about Japan when it comes to technology. Yes, technological domination is important, and economical also domination. So these kind of things are very important. And the two branches developed by Joseph Nye in 1990s, these two different powers that are here, the soft power diplomacy and also the smart power diplomacy. So this was a kind of different power. And also, beside this concept, also there is a third concept that I developed in my book, discussed much more deeply, which is the soft lie diplomacy. So it can be a combination of these three powers, because it's important also to mention that, for example, United States, there is a very, very huge lie about the United States about that you have heard for sure, the American dream, for example. The American dream is a big lie, actually, but it's a strategic lie which concerns the soft lie diplomacy, of course, because yeah, they said that yeah, it's a very nice country. Everyone, no, it's a country like anyone in. But the thing, of course, they are much more progressed and things like that. But they are very, very dark side of the United States of America that they will never show. They will always show you the very bright side. So this is all about what like diplomacy. And also another type of what power that Joseph and I also try to discuss is what the hard power. So the hard power is much more the use of military services and forces to dominate the world, as we have seen, for example, in Iraq and also Syria, and today also about Israel and Palestine also, which is a demonstration of what of hard power. And of course, beside the hard power, also there is a kind of soft light diplomacy when it comes to Palestine today, for example. This discussion can be much more further debated because, for example, in Palestine, there is a kind of, lie in terms of history also when we take the Israel state and Palestine also. Anyone can be free also to discuss if you want, but it can be also a topic for further discussions also. So I took an example also of, for example, this is the hard power that I was talking about. So there is also another example of soft light diplomacy that I took, for example, in March 11 for 2004. For example, the Spanish former prime minister, his name is Jose Maria Ansar, who accused actually the Basque separatists of ETA because he was a leader of this, what they call, there is a party, El Partido Popular in Spain, El Partido Popular. So he was the leader of that party, and he was deemed actually to be the future to win the election. But unfortunately, he accused actually his opponent because he wanted to defeat them, that they were responsible of a bomb attack which happened in a kind of train going to Madrid. And unfortunately, without any proof, without any evidence, actually, that he accused his opponent because he wanted to be, okay, the favorite, the most, popular one in this, before these elections. And, after the investigations, yes, it revealed that it was a lie because it was a terrorist attack, nothing to do with the Basque separatists of it. And this is a soft lie diplomacy, and the consequences can be irreversible because it goes to the defeat of Jose Maria Aznar. So another example also of what hard power that I discussed is what, for example, the invasion of Iraq in 2004 by the US military services. And before that invasion, if we go back, for example, in 2003, the US Secretary of Defense, his name is Colin Powell. He tried to convince the committee that, yes, there are a lot of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and they have to invade, etc., etc. And this was also a kind of lie, actually, that he completely fabricated in order to use the hard power. Though the hard power is with the consequence of what of the soft lie diplomacy here. Well, when we talk about okay, soft lie diplomacy, soft power, hard power, and different smart power that we talk, actually, it's basically linked to political communication strategies, which is important to be discussed also. And when we say political communication, actually, we have three important dimensions that we should take into account. And these dimensions are what you see here: the audience, the media, and the politics. So they are influencing each other, and without one component, it will be difficult actually to implement these political communication strategies. And talking about political communication, this is an example also from Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton in 2011 March. So she said in front of the American Foreign Policy Committee that the United States is in an information war, and that war is being lost. And she adds, actually deliberately, that Al Jazeera is winning that war. So here, why is Al Jazeera winning the war of information in front of the United States of America with this Hollywood, the movie system, and different televisions and different media that we know, which is the most important domination of the world today in terms of information? Well, this is the advent of what? Of the hypermedia, because Al Jazeera have this power to influence both the Western world and also the Eastern world, because they have different services in Arabic, in English, and different languages also. And even in African countries, they have a lot of, representation there. And thanks to this advent of hypermedia, they develop different platforms. Now for example, YouTube channels, even through Facebook now you can watch Al Jazeera, through different social media platform. Also, you have this ability to get the news much more easily wherever you are and whenever you want. And this is a very important, important advantage of hypermedia today, in terms also of political communication, as well as, yes, every kind of communication related to what giving an image of a country or dominating the world. Well, the soft light diplomacy also that I was talking about, there is a very, as I said before, actually, there is a very bad consequence when you don't use it much more wisely or strategically or intelligently. It's very important. So what can be the misuse of soft light diplomacy here? It can be a political communication. Actually, it's a political communication, as I said, based on what? On hate, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and also which constitutes a kind of threat to democracy here, because there is no democracy in such a country of racism and different things that we can see in different countries of the world from different political leaders. Well, and this misuse of soft light diplomacy can result with what I developed also later, the death of communication. So the death of communication is marked by the proliferation of fake news, the fabricated information which is circulating today through the hypermedia system and social media platforms everywhere in the world. And now it's important also to find some mechanism to use it, as I said, the hypermedia or the digital media much more generally, or if you want, every media linked actually to the internet, to use it much more, consciously and intelligently, in order to better actually the way of communicating, when especially it comes to the domain of political communication. It's much more crucial. Well, this said, the most important thing that we should know today in today's world, it's dominated by various types of media. The first thing is much more definite. It started by the newspaper, print media, traditional media, and including TV and radio much more later. And today we arrive to a system dominated by the hypermedia, like web TV, web radio, and different YouTube channels, and even movie website and different official website also online. So this is the era that we're living through. And unfortunately also it's a time of social media predominance. So in social media also, every type of traditional media have their pages, Twitter pages, Facebook pages, even some have a kind of Instagram pages, and even WhatsApp group also for some traditional media. And unfortunately, with the advent of these a new media system and hypermedia system also, there is a rise of fake news predominance, because information is much more fabricated. And with this fake news, actually, as I said, we arrive to a kind of willing to perfect the content of media, because it's important to give the quality of information. If you want to keep your audience, because every type of media, you have different types of media here, the most important thing to do here is to keep the audience informed with a quality information, without, most importantly, without fake news, because the fake news issue, when you give 1, 2, and 3 times this fake news information, you will lose your credibility, and the trustworthiness is completely down. And this is the main problem of today's media landscape. And because we are living in a kind of context that I call the fragmentation of audience. This fragmentation of audience means that every type of media here have a very few audience. Actually, it's reduced, because they are migrating from radio to television, from television to YouTube channels and different platforms, also even social media. Some people are especially following the news through social media platforms. So this fragmentation of audience requires a very wise use of social of content actually management content. The quality of content will actually guarantee a good audience actually in terms of yes information today. And when I talk about fake news, for example, there are six types of fake news, six characteristics of fake news that are developed here that you can see. This is very long. I won't talk about them very deeply, but as you can see here, you have, for example, the first one, which is maliciously fake false information. Of course, all of them are fake news actually, okay? All of them are fake news, but they are not the same actually, okay? You have maliciously false information, you have neutral false information, satire news, disinformation and misinformation. They are not the same actually, disinformation and misinformation. And the first one is much more political, okay, fabricated to defeat the opponent, and this one is much more okay, linked to what cyber criminality and fraud and different things like that. And also the rumor also is a type of fake news. So six different characteristic or types of fake news that we can discuss much more deeply. And yes, to finish here and say that those who are curious and want to read the book, because it's much more developed, this is a kind of summary that I tried to make it much more shorter and not take the time of a program also. So if you want to read it, you can get access online. If I had more copies, I can distribute to the members also. But unfortunately, now I don't have much more copies, free copies with me. So there are a lot of questions, those who are interested in communication and political things, and also marketing, and also new media. There are a lot of debate and discussion actually that I try to generate through the chapters. So now, if you have any question, you can ask me. If there is no question, I would like yes to change now to, I don't know the time. Now I would ask Fusun Sari. Sari, are you here?
Yes, I'm here now.
Yes. Now I don't know the program. Is it normally you used to do half an hour or
1 hour?
I don't know.
1 hour. We have 1 hour.
1 hour.
Yes, you
okay,
have
1 hour. So basically, we have 30 minutes to go. Yes,
yes,
absolutely, almost
yes.
13. So okay, so great. Thank you very much. So
You're
now,
welcome.
if there is any question, we can yes go for the question for something like 5 to 10 minutes. If there is no question, we can go with the culture program, because actually we agreed on a kind of culture discussion actually after the presentation, just to make it also related to what the green perspective and environment and you know different things related to nature. So is there anyone who wants to say something?
Yes, I would like to ask one thing. What do you think, like
Yes, of course.
hypermedia, Dr. Mubashir? What do you think that hypermedia would be having? Would it be having an impact on our society and our norms, or not?
Of course. Thank you very much, Dr. Mubashar. Actually, this is a very good question in terms of norms, because norms, it's difficult actually to control the content of, because it's international media content. This is the main problem, because in every country, in terms of media, I'm talking about traditional media, in every country, we have institutions in charge of regulating the content of every type of media. And when the content is not suitable to what they need, there is a censorship. They will censor the information. And this is very normal. Censorship is not bad when the information itself is bad. Okay, it can be good also when the information is not going in terms of what the societal norms are, okay, dictating. This is very important also to be mentioned. So in every country, we have these institutions which regulates the content of media, traditional media. But now the problem is every media linked to internet becomes international media. So which country will be able to regulate the information related to what? To international media? That's the main problem today. Okay, because that's why also we are facing some international problem. Like we have seen Al Jazeera, if you remember, it was banned in some Western countries and different things like that. For example, this is a very big issue because everyone, thanks to the hypermedia, you have access to get it. You can get it online everywhere. So The thing is maybe to create a kind of, international trouble between the countries when you say that, no, we have to ban it here because you can get it online. And this is a problem. But the norms here is what? The most important thing that everyone should know, because the future is all about internet, the future is all about hypermedia when it's come to information, actually, because it's starting right now even. So even if there is no media, as I know actually, in the world, the serious media, which doesn't have actually at least one YouTube channel or maybe website or even social media platform pages. It doesn't exist at all, actually, for serious media. So it means that in the future, the most important things that the media should know is to respect the international standards, to try to follow it as much as possible. Because since they don't follow it, they will lose their credibility, and consequently, they will lose also their audience in the future. This is definite. That's why I'm talking about the fragmentation of audience. Because every media, if I watch, for example, CNN today, tomorrow, and I see that, no, these guys are against, for example, the Eastern society and things like that. Say, okay, anyway, I will not maybe follow that one because I have the possibility to go, for example, to BBC or different, media system which are available online also. So in terms of norm, actually, it's important to obey to the international standards, the international norms in the future. Even though, there are a lot of, in terms of Western culture, because the norms are related to culture also. This is another debate that we may talk about. So when it comes to culture, like, for example, homosexuality or different things like that, for example, in Eastern society, when it comes to homosexuality, we are not very okay with these things. But when you go to Eastern society, to Western society, for example, United States or maybe the European countries, you will see that this is not a big issue. Actually, this is a kind of freedom also. So it's a kind of social and cultural norms also, but it's important actually to follow these issues. I'm sorry, I'm very, very long, but yes, if there is anyone who want to ask, yes, other question. Yes. Do you have any question? I don't know, doctor. I don't know if I tried to answer to your question, or do you have anything else?
Yes, you were quite it is the right answer which you have given me, but
Okay.
there is another dimension to this as well.
Okay.
There is a point which is being used subjectively by the media and the hypermedia as well. That is freedom of speech.
Very
In
good.
the name of freedom of speech, our medias have got into our private lives, which should not have been the point in reality. But again, freedom of speech is the current dilemma is that freedom of speech is being defined by the person who is violating the freedom of speech.
Of course.
They use freedom of speech if they want to spread a hate word for someone, they would say that it is freedom of speech. But if someone spreads hate for them, they say that this is not appropriate. Again, this internationalization of media and is subject to some regulations which formally should be regulated by United Nations or some charter, which should be very clear about the definitions that what is defamation, what is freedom of speech, what is intellectual property, and where the media should stand, and from where onwards media should not interfere into the lives of common people. Because this is the real damage which has been done by the media.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yes, I totally agree with you. When it comes to actually freedom, because freedom of speech doesn't mean actually be free to talk about bullshit. Actually, we have seen this debate also raised in France, for example, after the Charlie Hebdo attack, the magazine, and also the killing of the professor there. That's most of the Muslim countries actually were against this thing because they say that yes, it's freedom of speech, so they can make a kind of cartoons about the prophet, which is not accepted in the Eastern culture, the Muslim community will never allow a media in the name of the freedom of speech to make cartoon about the prophet. It doesn't make sense actually. So even the United States of America, there are also a kind of movie, I think it was in 2011 or something like that, about the prophet also, which was banned. And these kind of things, it's being done in the name of the freedom of speech. As I said, also, there are some norms which are not the same in the Western countries and also in the Eastern country, the Muslim, domination countries also. It's not the same. So every country has their specific norms that they are following, which is not the same actually everywhere. When you go here, we cannot accept these things. When you go there also, they say that, okay, this is freedom and our country is a country of freedom and this is a terrible thing that we should do. Actually, I totally agree with you when you say that maybe in terms of international level, they should think about actually putting it much more deliberately in the text about the limit of freedom of speech actually. Yes, they should redefine it. And this is a very important thing that they should do in the future also for the benefit of everyone. And of course, there are some limits, as I said also. I would like to take also the example of Jamal Khashoggi, who was killed by the, Saudi Arabian consulate. That also was a kind of limitation to freedom of speech. And when you go to the Saudi Arabian state, also before the killing of Khashoggi, they said that he is putting in danger the state secret. Okay, the state secret. So he's revealing some things that is not permitted for a media actually to show to the world and things like that. But now the debate is state secret face freedom of speech. Which one is dominating? This is the question now. But in any case, actually, the freedom of speech should be redefined because the media has been internationalized now with the hypermedia. So it's important to think about the global understanding of freedom of speech. This is a very good point that you targeted. Thank you. So
I wanted to comment on the discussion which is going on.
Please.
Am I able to? Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, please.
So basically, whatever you discussed and doctor said something, as you said about the Joseph Nye idea of soft power. So this is very acceptable fact.
Yes, please.
That we already are trapped under the power of kind of soft power, monopoly of soft power of West. So even then, if you made some charters, some regulation for freedom of speech or regulation of media, I don't think so it will ever work. Don't we have human rights charter? Don't we have media charter? Don't we have bonded labor charter, child labor charter? But it all failed. We are not following, and nobody is allowing it to follow because some people have the monopoly over that. So I think this is very ideal situation that we have to have this, we have to have that, or UN should intervene, or whoever should intervene. I don't agree that at any point of time it will ever happen and it will ever be the question of freedom of expression will be questioned or it will be undermined. I think, as you mentioned about Al Jazeera, the Al Jazeera effect. So I think why they have the monopoly and do whatever you want in coming 50, 40 years, we cannot compete that monopoly of the soft power of West they have. So basically, Al Jazeera is one of the solution, which I can see. The effect of Al Jazeera is really question the monopoly of the news channels such as CNN or BBC. And that really work like anything. So I think why one is painted wrong by someone because you don't have brush in your hand. Someone has the brush. So I think Al Jazeera can be the example of how you have to hold the brush and paint, this is the right way of painting, or at least not right way. So at least I can paint mine, you paint yours, and let others decide. So I think that should be there rather than believing in UN or any authority. And if you take the example of one state, one Eastern state for that matter, they are doing the same thing. One powerful media house is there and they are clubbing, whether it is a Muslim country, whether it is Christian country, it's not just West. Even Muslim countries are painting their minorities like anything in a very bad image. So I think that only solution, whether it is terms of hypermedia, whether it's some cinema, whether it's some of literature, there should be the other part of literature is also there, and they people should write, people should create new form of media, and this is how I think only way to balance this monopoly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Nihal,
actually,
excuse me.
I would like
yeah,
to add
Bushra,
on
go
to
ahead,
this.
please. Yes, I appreciate actually what Nihal said also, actually, the creation of alternatives. This is very important point. Yes, please, go ahead. I think someone, Bushra or
Yes.
Doctor. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the manipulative control of media cannot be, you can say that it cannot be left alone. But again, let me tell you one thing. Media has grown so much stronger that the state level censorship is in their control. So Nihal was saying that there should be the difference of opinions should be highlighted everywhere. But let me assure you, I'm into academia. There is one capitalistic school of thought relevant to business education, which is prevailing. And those who oppose are not even allowed to publish or write anything or to be on the mainstream. So they are not visible to anyone who is trying to access that information. That much level of manipulative control is in the hand of media. So there is need for regulation. And yes, UN, we have to rely on them because there is no other source for, which is having unanimity all across the globe. But again, if you impose censorship or if you push media to promote the other side of the coin as well, and then comes UN with its regulations that you cannot force anyone to show the content which you are trying to show. So this would stay to be a dilemma if not appropriately handled. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I think someone else also wanted to add something.
Yes, I wanted to ask
Yes,
that you talked about the freedom of speech in some areas, while the freedom of speech is restricted in some other areas, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to just say that, like, some places are like restricted, but wherever there is freedom of speech, we see that there is much more hatred among the people. Like they create groups or whatever so-called things, and like kind of it creates a really different kind of situation. Whereas there is no freedom of speech, like I don't mean to say anything like offending or something, but what I mean to say is when there is no freedom of speech, at least the people are not gathering that hatred towards each other as it is in the freedom of speech, because they say whatever they want to say, and then you see it's the same thing, that it's freedom of speech. I hope you got my point.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, any other intervention? Because
I want a little bit intervention.
Okay. Yes. Sorry,
Am
please.
I audible?
I
Hello?
didn't get. Yes, please. We can hear you.
So, like, thanks for your brilliant presentation and whatever you said.
Thank you.
So, it was enlightening and also refreshing for me because I had a media background.
Okay, good.
I worked as a journalist for a few years.
Good.
So I know how the media work, and it has become very different times nowadays. Like each and everybody is a journalist. So you know that there is a term called citizen journalist.
Very good. Yes, citizen journalism. Actually, yes, please.
Citizen journalist, or maybe like the way the YouTube is becoming a source of information and as well as a medium of revolutionary change. So the traditional media is now losing its grasp that it has earlier.
Definitely.
So now we have a lot of terms like digital media, alternative media, citizen media, and even the radical media. So like my intervention here would be that as I had a background, like I studied mass communication, journalism, and work as a journalist. So after that, the theoretical and practical implication I have, and there is a whole lot of good sides of media that they work for the people, and there are equally bad sides of the media. Like a issue that you said that Al Jazeera are doing this this thing, those things, depicting that way, misinformation, disinformation is happening. So my point there is that everybody does, every media does, because of their political economy. From where the media is telecasting, who is sponsoring the media, who is working there. Like my intervention here would be that those who are listening here should be aware that what kind of audience we are. So there are three types of audience. One audience that whatever the media will broadcast or telecast or printed, people will grasp it. There are second is that okay, there are something maybe I don't agree, little bit there are another audience that are very critical audience. Like I am think that the cultural media critic Stuart Hall, who has divided this media audience into three. And the last one that I will ask each of us to be very critical what the media is showing us, even if this YouTube channels, any kind of online media or the traditional media. Like each media and each person has their own ideological, cultural, and geographical and the economical bias. Like we take example of the latest event, the Palestine-Israel issue.
Yes.
So CNN, BBC is saying conflict, and if you are a pro-Palestinian, you will say that the Israeli aggression.
Yep.
So what text you believe? And there is no authority to determine the text, as we are living in a post-truth era, and there is nobody to check who is right, who is wrong. Each and everybody is equally right, each and everybody is equally wrong. As there is no supranational structure to define what should be the guiding principle of a media, of a journalist. So there should be one constant that as a human being, like being sympathetic and empathic to the people who are sufferer, and what the issue, we should take every issue or every information that media published with a grain of salt, and use our critical or analytical reason that what right or not. And another thing is that as Nihal has said that we should like there should be some alternative voices. I am agree with that. And there is a problem of more and many more alternative voices as well, because so there are so much information, people don't get what the real message is. So there is one scholar who is Noam Chomsky, everybody maybe knows him. He teaches at MIT. So his one idea is that the community-based idea, community-based media. So like if there are people who are marginal, they can come up and media that can challenge the traditional or the established media to give the alternative voice. So I am in a little bit agree with you, because the media has become so hyperbolic and also propaganda oriented. Earlier media earlier it was called the fourth estate. Now media has lost its credibility, be it a national media, be it a corporate oriented media, or be it your CNN, BBC, or Al Jazeera. Like if you take an example, a particular issue, like if someone is staying in India, they know how the international media cover a issue, and the same issue is covered differently, totally opposite way in a national media. So we know that how these things matter and how the politics plays out when something is covered. So I have given a long intervention.
No, it's good. It's very beneficial actually, because yes, I totally agree with you. Actually, when we talk about, for example, the dependence, because independence of media also is linked to the freedom of speech. Because how much free are you when you depend on someone else? That's the main problem, actually. Because, yes, for example, the political personality are financing your media group. They are giving money for the functioning of this media, and they want you to tell a kind of truth, actually. So, yes, you cannot ignore it. If you don't tell what they need, they will cut it, and your media will die, actually, because media is it's a kind of company. It's working thanks to economical support and different things that we know. And without this support also, you cannot work. And behind this support, there is someone who wants his ideology and things like that to be told in the media. So you cannot go against that thing. So the independence of media and the freedom of media are going together. And yes, it's a kind of compact thing. And also when you say that, also there are some type of audience also that are linked to every type of media. Also, this is definitely true also. And in terms of also generationship also, if you take, for example, a guy age of 60 years old or maybe 70, is not following the same type of media as a young guy of 18 or 20 years old, because they don't have the same generation, they don't have the same habit of consuming the media product also. So there are those who are much more concerned with TV, those who are concerned with radio, and also even there are those also who still buy this newspaper also, things to read. But today, if I ask someone here, I will know that the majority of us, the last time that we have bought a newspaper, I think it will maybe it will be very, very long time actually. So it said that we are much more. There is a researcher, his name is Ritze, that's called today's generation, the digital prosumers. It's mean producers and the consumers of information. Yeah, now everyone is producing. As you said, this advent of what citizen journalism is very important. Everyone becomes journalists actually. You go and create information and share it, and it's okay. You create your own YouTube channel or different thing, and you give the information in the way you want it to be. And yes, it's a very important. So your contribution was very highly appreciated. Thank you very much. And yes, I don't know if someone else wanted to add something, because we have 5 minutes to go, almost to 5. Yes, because normally it should be 1 hour. If Fusun Sare, I think you are coordinating everything. So.
No, we have almost 5 minutes, but if you want, you can take 10 minutes too.
All right.
Depends on you.
Okay, no, for me it's okay if because it's a kind of discussion now, so everyone can give the opinion and everything. So you're welcome to to share your opinion and discuss.
Well,
okay,
an excellent session,
and
a very concerning topic, which should have been addressed and addressed appropriately. You have done a brilliant job.
Okay,
but again, we need to personally and individually, what I would suggest that the change always starts from your within.
Okay.
So if you want to improve the things, we need to at least have courage to contribute to the society and tell everyone about the right approach.
Absolutely.
Your right might not be the right for the other person, but sharing your ideas and opinions, it makes it more applicable and acceptable.
Absolutely.
So while understanding and keeping the individual differences in your mind, we should at least start having an intellectual dialogue among ourselves to create more awareness and to create more harmony between everyone. Excellent session. Once again, I would like to thank you for this, and a wonderful job.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, I really appreciate it, because, the future belongs to the new generation today. So we have this chance also of benefiting of this, opportunity of, digital media platforms like YouTube. I will take the example of Zoom, for example, today. Without Zoom, there is no session today, for example. So if we go back something like 30 years ago, there is no session, there is no Umran, nothing actually, because we don't have this possibility to gather 60 people from different areas around the world in one platform. So this is an advantage. And this kind of discussion also is to be encouraged in the future, because we can gather different people from different countries, United States of America, and this generation will be leading the world tomorrow. This is the most important thing to do. So if we don't appreciate our leaders who are working today, politics and different things, so tomorrow we have to start the discussion today in order to change the next generation, because there will be among us, this generation discussing today. So if we have a kind of common understanding of the future of the world, it means that in the future, it will be much more better than the previous decades and even century. So thank you very much for having me tonight and for